platforms. Looks like we're live. It can still hear your voice, unlike unlike your professionally done one.
Okay. So they can hear us.
Yeah, it looks like we're live. All right,
Cool.
hold on 2 seconds.
See if it shows up on mine.
All right.
It's not showing up on mine.
On your X.
Yeah.
That's because you've got to connect to the top right. See the top right of your screen?
You streamed this to your audience? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What'd you title it?
Just live technical analysis on Bitcoin, ETH, and SUI with trader Bren. What matters next? That's
Cool.
a fucking mouthful. Just say Jaden, shooting the shit with Jaden.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell. Right. Looks like we are live. I'm just going to check on some of the other platforms just to see what the crack is. Looks like there's two on here.
Is it your name, Jaden Levitt, with 2 T's on Twitter?
That's it, my man.
Yeah, Jaden Levitt with 2 T's on
Let's
Twitter.
just see. I don't know why it's not showing me as live on X. That's not good. It is now. Right. We're rocking and rolling here, my man.
Perfect.
Right. Just wait for a few more to join. It looks like there's 6 on there. I'm just going to check with the guys in the WhatsApp chat quickly. Because it seems a bit odd that there's only 6.
Let's see. I think we are live on my Twitter now.
Okay.
Perfect.
Nice one. Right. We'll just let it roll for a little bit. Let a few more people join. It looks like there's a few more numbers coming in now.
Oh yeah. What's up, everybody?
Yeah. How's everyone doing? Guys, if you could drop a comment, just let me know where you're commenting from. That'd be really appreciated. Really exciting. I won't call it a show, but let's just call it kind of shooting the shit, Bren. I had a great conversation with you the other night. Really enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed the first conversation we had on my Substack, and I remember kind of scrolling through OpenSea, and you popped up and you were sweeping the floor of VFriends, and I was like, holy fuck, what is this guy doing? And I think you must have put, and I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything, but somewhere north of $200,000 into VFriends at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, fuck me, there's something about NFTs that you can actually tell a little bit about a person based on the things that they buy. And I know I've said that a few times before, but the thing I like about your content is that you kind of have this blend of using technical analysis, but also you're very good on the macro. And I've always thought that the kind of answer to most things is somewhere in the middle. I've never been really big into TA, so the next hour I just want you to speak to me like I'm a 5-year-old, and I'd really appreciate it. But Bren, welcome, my friend. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, Jaden. And before we get into it, for those of you who are popping in from my X, like Jaden said, just wanted to do this stream today, shoot the shit. We're going to go over Bitcoin. Obviously, crazy move. Bitcoin almost slicing into the low 90s. We'll see if we're going to go into the 80s. Today, we'll talk, for everybody who's on here, we're going to talk some TA stuff. And I'll show you guys exactly, again, how I see the market. I don't really use a lot of traditional tools that a lot of people use, but we'll go over that. But yeah, Jaden, I'm stoked to be here. The VFriends stuff is, I think, where I saw you as well, but from your content, you're making a lot of great long form, kind of macro style posts on NFTs, which I don't see too many people do nowadays. And from there, we talked, and I think we think pretty similar on stuff. And I mean, these streams have been great, so glad to be here again.
No, I appreciate it, my man. So let's say someone's listening to this for the first time. Obviously, a lot of my read is probably wouldn't have any exposure to some of the technical analysis stuff. So something like the chart analysis. I know a lot of your viewers, they're quite used to it now. I think the only kind of consistent thing I've seen with TA stuff is the wedge pattern, because it seems to play out every single time. So clearly, some of these indicators, they do really work. I mean, what's the kind of framework you approach some of these charts with? And what would you say to someone, I guess, who's probably got a little bit of cynicism towards kind of the short-term charting?
Yeah, no, that's fair. As far as the cynicism goes, I think it's like anything. Like most of the mainstream stuff that people are using, and again, if you're using any of these tools, like I found some people have success with them if they use them, but use them correctly in confluence with other things. But what I found when I first started out with TA, I started with Fibonacci, just support and resistance,
Yeah,
a lot of these kind of mainstream tools, and I too, didn't find much success with them. Found them kind of inaccurate. So I
yeah,
agree. Most of the stuff that people are using when they're using them alone, TA stuff, I don't think there's much correlation to how price and stuff actually moves. The way I kind of look at the market is tracking pretty much. I'll go ahead and start with this. Every market in the world, every market, every asset is in one of three phases at any given time.
yeah,
Okay. And how I look at the market is based on that principle alone. Okay. So there's three main phases that any asset is in. Either it's impulsing, which
yeah,
is big moves up for an extended period of time, lots of green candles, lots of red candles. It's correcting, which comes in between these big moves up or down. And then there's peaks, which are tops or bottoms. Okay. And each of these three phases have distinct characteristics. Okay. They all have different behaviors that tell us, okay, we're probably in this phase. And then knowing what phase we're in, we're able to, determine what behavior we should be doing next. Right. So these lines that I have drawn here,
yeah.
right here, depict corrections. You mentioned wedges earlier. A lot of the stuff I look at is more
What
so.
I'll do, Fred, is I'll just because you're not currently sharing your screen at the
Oh, I'm
moment.
not?
Are
Oh,
you trying to show?
I thought I was. Okay, you see on the bottom right, it says sharing screen, right? So
Hold on two
weird.
seconds. Let's just see if this works.
Oh,
You
my
know
bad.
what?
Sharing
You
my
know what?
screen.
I don't want to be that guy, but it's me, not you.
It's all good. It's all
It
good.
was something my listen, I'm new to all of this stuff, but the
No
streaming.
worries.
But yeah, no, I appreciate it. So we could let's just track
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
back a bit, because I was listening intently to what you were saying,
No
thinking that
worries.
you were going to then share the screen.
It's all good. It's all good. So, yeah, no. So pretty much, like I said, all the market, every asset's in one of three phases at any given time.
Right.
Impulse, which is these big moves up, like here. Think the big Bitcoin bull markets on the higher time frames; those are impulses.
Yeah.
Um, they can be to the downside too. Obviously, this is crypto, mostly been up for several years, but impulses happen to the downside too.
Yeah.
And then there's corrections, which come in between, and then peaks, which are tops and bottoms. Okay, each
Right.
of these three have distinct characteristics that tell us what phase we're in.
Yeah.
Essentially, you mentioned wedge patterns earlier. These
Yeah.
corrective channels, which most of the time these corrections manifest in, which
Right.
we'll go over a little bit here in a second. Um, they wedges, I like to call them corrective channels, but oftentimes these corrections will form in these channel like structures, right? And I'll just go briefly over what these characteristics of each of these three phases are.
Okay.
Impulses are what they sound like. They're impulsive in nature, right? They're
Yeah.
big moves up for an extended period of time. Same thing to the downside. If you're long or you're buying assets, you essentially, everybody, whether they know it or not, is trying to catch these impulses. They're trying to be in a long during the impulse to the upside, or in a short to the impulse to the downside.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you want to be taking profits on the way up, ideally, when you're in these impulses. But what come in between is the corrections. Okay.
Yeah.
While impulses are straight moves up and they're very impulsive, lots of green candles, corrections are kind of the opposite, right? There'll be moves down, like we saw on Bitcoin here. There was a move. This was uh, March of this year, March of 2024. I'm sorry. This was March of 2024 through September of 2024. For those of you guys who been around, in 2024. This was a correction from 75K down to 54K on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yes, it came down from 73K to 59K. What do you notice after? It bounced, right? It came
Yeah.
down again and it bounced. So instead of impulses, which have straight candles to the upside, corrections are choppy in nature and they have bounces in between. Okay. So when I see this, when I see these type of structures where yes, price is pulling back, but it's pulling back in a choppy, coiled up manner, to me that is corrective. Okay.
Okay.
And when we're looking at the higher time frames, pretty much what everybody's worried about right now in crypto is whether we are in the middle of a cycle top and we're going to enter a bigger bear market like we saw in 2021.
Yeah.
Or this is the dilemma, right? That everybody is wondering, or if it's just another correction like we saw in 2024, like I just showed
Yeah.
you, and then April of this year as well, around the whole tariff thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, anything is possible, right? Like you'll see me if you follow me on Twitter. Like I'm obviously very bullish and very optimistic, but I'll tell you everything is about probabilities. Anything is possible, but chart wise, which we're going over right now. But if for me, I'm just looking at the regulatory, situation where all the regulators are hell bent on creating regulatory clarity for crypto over the next few years.
Yeah.
The institutions kind of all in, and then the biggest thing, the macro, which we can talk about later if we want.
Yeah.
I think the charts are still painting, figuring it out, which we'll go over what we could look for to really determine if the bottom's in. But if you look at these other things outside the charts, I add those up, and then this, I think the probabilities tell me that we are in one of these corrections that we've seen the past few years, and very unlikely to enter a cycle top here, which we can go over here in a second chart wise, what would invalidate that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
What do you make of that fear and greed index? I know it's usually sharp as a kind of surgeon scalpel with sentiment, and obviously sentiment at the moment isn't great. I think the macro looks good, so it's good to hear that you kind of mix the two. But what would you say to folks who think that ordinarily the cycle is now finished because they're using the old 4-year cycle framework?
Yeah. So what I would say is, again, anything's possible. There's a reality and there's a possibility that the 4-year cycle does play out again. Maybe because a lot of the Bitcoin whales who've had Bitcoin for, you may have heard of this, like the Bitcoin whales, a lot of these guys who have had it for 5, 10, 15 years are actually selling right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of this, people are calling this like the IPO moment for Bitcoin, where a lot of the institutions are coming in, which is getting these guys who have billions and have their whole net worths in Bitcoin, allow them to exit. So there's a possibility where that plays out, and this is a 4-year cycle. But what most people are base the 4-year cycle on is the halving, right?
Yeah.
And if you really look at the halving, and you hear Michael Saylor, I posted a clip about this the other day. Maybe we should play it. But Michael Saylor, he talks about how the halving right now, since there's only 2 million Bitcoin left to be mined, right? So the halving is pretty much negligible for the supply right now. It takes about, I don't know, like $25 million a month or something out of the market in supply. But the institutions of the ETFs dwarf that. So pretty much the halving is not really a strong force in the actual economy or anything of Bitcoin now.
I'd agree.
Like I said, we could definitely have the 4-year cycle, but if I look at everything, it's clear we're not in 2021 anymore, right? In 2021, when we saw that cycle top, the institutions weren't in. We didn't have regulatory clarity. It was the opposite. The SEC was going after all these crypto companies. The macro situation, actually, the entire risk assets topped at the same time. Right now, we're looking at the opposite. I think we're looking at regulatory clarity, all the coming, the institutions, BlackRock, ETFs. Everything has been different about this cycle so far. The price action, like I showed you, we've seen, instead of up only like we saw in 2020 and then a major crash, we've seen big 6-month corrections in between for Bitcoin. So
but
pretty
the
much
trend line is up. The trend line looks up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can talk about this too. The reason why I think it's so brutal is because Bitcoin is still only down 30%, but memes and alts have been down for a whole year. And that's what most of crypto Twitter is in. So it's that's why it's brutal. But to finish off what you were saying, to answer your question, I think if we added all those things together, everything has been different about this cycle. So of course we have to see how this setup plays out. But the way I think of the 4-year cycle is, I think, again, the likelihood that we're going to see a 75% bear market on Bitcoin with the institutions and where the macro situation is favoring risk assets, I think, into 2026. I just don't think that's the likely scenario, right? Again, completely different situation in 2021. And I understand why people, stick to the 4-year cycle, because it hasn't been disproven yet. But like I just said, everything's been different about this cycle so far, and the price action, macro, everything else. I don't know if we should expect the same thing to play out price-wise.
Yeah. Do you follow liquidity as a gauge? So do you think liquidity is the dominant force in these asset prices increasing?
Yes, and I do. And just to touch on, I didn't really touch on the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. Really, you nailed it. It really is just it's a great gauge of market sentiment. And I think sentiment, you'll see every one of these times, again, at these bottoms, you see the crowd. Most people on crypto Twitter just get extremely bearish. And I think that really is because it's just human psychology. Most people, I think, on crypto Twitter especially, only pay attention for the most part to the last few weeks of price action, last few months maybe, and they base their entire worldview on crypto based on that. Have you noticed that too?
I was listening to Mando, who's one of the co-founders of Rect, and he was saying that it's a common theme that everyone knows about the 4-year cycle. So ordinarily, people would be playing to that framework, thinking that the cycle is now over. And if the crowd believe it to be so, then it is so. So, like, if people are selling off because they think it's the end of the cycle, that would be a kind of legitimate reason. But I think his thoughts on it were that we would probably go through a kind of corrective phase, maybe for a bit longer than some of those corrections that we had previously, maybe for 2-3 months, until Bitcoin starts to then correlate with that M2 money, that famous M2 money supply chart that people keep sharing. I think I've shared it myself. So that's what I kind of think. There's a couple of other thoughts on the timeline and there was something I was reading it today because I'm actually writing a SUI blog, and this is going to be a good plug because I've got you guest posting in Carrot Lane, which is going to be excellent. I'm going to add it in tomorrow. But the maturity of the debt has been extended, and people don't know about this. In 2020, what happened was the central banks refinance at 3 to 5 years, so they roll over the debt. However, I think during the Biden administration, he extended the maturity of the debt by 12 months. And I don't know if it was a political move or he just decided, well, look, between him and whoever was the Secretary Treasury or whatever, decided to capitalize on like the 0% interest rates. So actually, the maturity of the debt or the rolling over of the debt is only going to happen in the next 12 months. I think there's like something between 7.4 trillion and 9 trillion to be rolled over between Q3 of this year, which is already gone, and over the next 12 months. So we've still got all of this to come. And then obviously what you get is this kind of optical rising effect as more money comes into the system. So that's how I'm kind of thinking about it. Did you have any thoughts on that? On if we move more to the macro side, do you have any?
Yeah, so I've definitely been watching some of that stuff too with Raoul Paul and talking about the business cycle, and yeah, I do think there's some legitimacy to that. If you look at the ICM business cycle and liquidity, it did happen to line up. The liquidity did happen to peak in 2021, in November of 2021, end of 21, and then also in the 2017 bull. And then this time, it does look like it is going to extend into 26, and that's probably what's going to push us into 26. So I do think there is some legitimacy to that. And I mean, if you do look at the business cycle and liquidity, it has correlated to how far the bull markets go. And I think there's a possibility we even run even further with further QE. I don't know if you saw today, but Trump said that everybody's going to get he said checks too.
I did.
Check mid 2026.
Yeah,
So even if
I love that.
go ahead, sorry.
Bro, sorry, I interrupted you. Carry on. I just said I love that.
Yeah, no, it's and he said mid 2026. I think it's just a sign that like Besant and Trump, they've said they want to let the economy run hot.
Yeah.
Which means spending, and like you said, they're incentivized to roll over the debt or to
Yeah.
what's the right terminology?
I mean, yeah, you're right. Roll over the debt. I mean, the simplest way I look at it is like if people have more money in their pockets, they will buy speculative assets or they'll put money into risk assets. And then the question becomes, well, is the market running really hot, as in end of cycle behaviors, or is it kind of not hot? And actually, by every indicator, it's not hot. I mean, people I know don't have money in their pockets for these things, which to me means that when they do, they will just ordinarily buy these things. And that doesn't mean that that Bitcoin to M2 chart is always going to match up. But I think eventually it does catch up. And I think, you know, obviously I don't want to give my opinion, but what would you say to people who are getting out of risk assets now, maybe with the view that the cycle's over? So I've seen a few comments that have popped up to say, oh, I've exited 60% of my, crypto position, or I'm thinking about getting out. I mean, what would you say to those folks? Obviously, each person's got to do their own thing. But if you were to put yourself in their shoes, what would you be thinking?
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, everybody has their own goals. If you need, you need the money to pay bills and all that good stuff. Obviously, that kind of stuff comes first.
Yeah.
But I think if it comes to, talking to somebody who is looking to, grow their portfolio or just have success in the markets, I would say even if we were to go and if you're talking meme coins and somebody's down 70-80% on a meme coin,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff is, I would say, most of their portfolio is just getting destroyed right now. I would say make sure to have most of your portfolio in the more investor bucket, as I like to call it,
Of course.
the stables and majors. So
Yeah.
you can, and then as well as take profits on the way up, so you don't have to deal with that. But as far as the coming Bitcoin,
Mate, I took a screenshot. Does that count?
yeah. But even
I must have some screenshots of my punk strategy when it was at 30 cents.
yeah, that counts. But I would say if we're talking Bitcoin, ETH, some of these assets we know are going to be around, I would just say even if we were to go into a bear market right now,
yeah,
I would say, like, say we were right here, this would be the equivalent, and we're about to go down. You look at Bitcoin, and people talk about these scary bear markets as if they're like 3 or 4 year bear markets.
yeah.
Even if we were to track 2022, which we've already gone over, I don't think we're in 2021 anymore. We have all the biggest world institutions, the biggest financial institutions, at least interested in crypto, countries talking about buying it. But let's say worst case scenario, we did. Let's just say we're right here. How long did it take for Bitcoin to bottom out from March of 2022 down to here? 6 or 7 months.
Yes.
Right. So if you're talking about you're trying to be an investor and a long-term holder, which I think, if you're just here for a quick flip, like whatever, just here to flip meme coins and stuff, which is, that's great. I would just encourage everybody, if you want to be here for a long term, build at least some of your portfolio in the investor bucket in these long-term assets. So I would say 6 or 7 months. The worst case scenario, you just be looking at 5 or 6 months, and there's no way to guess when that's going to end. So I think it's the best case scenario if you're trying to be a long-term investor and optimize everything, is I would look at these opportunities, and I have. That's what I've been through in the last couple of months, is an opportunity to add to my core positions at crazy discounts. That's how I view the market. That's how I've had success in these past corrections, these past bear markets, as looking at these times as opportunity and places to add. But last thing, the only way I've been able to do that personally is by having a profit taking system set up to where I'm taking profits on the way up, so that I'm already, took a lot of money out of the market, so I have the luxury to add during these times.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I think I played it slightly differently in the fact that I'd used like an ISM framework. So I'm kind of, it's a bit like the business cycle, but I'm actually watching the ISM because that's um, uh, like a like a productivity index to say what's happening. Because obviously, more productivity is the more corporate profits, higher stock prices, and that's the kind of framework I use. I don't like to pitter patter with things. Obviously, you and I are built completely differently, and this is why you're very good at the TA stuff. So it might be a thing that I still consider. I've got still Trippin in the chat. I've got Gene. I've
What's up,
got
guys?
Zan,
Oh,
Jenny, and
I see that
Armstrong.
now.
But so if look, you know, I'd just put your neck on the line. Where do you think we are, let's say in 6 months' time? I know you can't predict these things, but what do your kind of spidey senses say
Yeah.
with Bitcoin in the next 6 months?
So next 6 months, I think we are much higher than here, at least on Bitcoin. And
Yeah,
again, I think it's barring the worst case scenario, which is a 2022 type bear market. And again, what did that 2022 bear market come with? Was if you look at the S&P 500, it also took its nasty correction, pretty
yeah,
much worse than this one we just had in April, from 4,800 down to 35. The entire macro situation, inflation was going crazy. There's
yeah,
none of that this time. I think we're actually about to go into the opposite conditions where we're about to be there's going to be stimulus in some sense.
mm.
So you look at all that. I
I mean,
think,
with the stocks, they have like obviously because they're private companies, they have like buybacks and things like that that
yeah.
obviously optically increase the price. But yeah, um,
But yeah, to answer your question, I think at least Bitcoin, ETH, Solar, we're talking about. I think we're
yeah,
going to be much higher. I think ETH will be above all time highs. I think my base case still is that we are going to find a bottom. I don't know
yeah,
if we're going to get all time highs by the end of the year, like a lot of these guys, Tom Lee and Michael Saylor, are saying. But I do think by the end of the year and probably in November, we'll find that bottom. And really, the only thing that is missing in this kind of correction we're looking at is
yeah,
this. You see how I have these boxes drawn. The
mm,
end of the last correction in April, it always ends with some type of usually consolidation or
yeah,
really a few green weekly candles
yeah,
that kind of show that momentum has stopped. So you see right here, we got a few green candles
yeah.
retested low and went. Same kind of thing here in 2024, but this one lasted a few months. That's kind of the last piece of the puzzle, I think, is just a
Okay,
few weekly candles. Maybe usually, like this one was about 5 or 6 weeks. This one was about, what were we looking at? About 3 months. Just really depends. So, yeah, I think early next year, Bitcoin hits all time highs, and same with ETH.
mate, I fucking love that. I want to move on to Ethereum because I know the Ethereum ecosystem is a huge function of how NFTs operate.
Mhm.
I've always kind of seen like the NFTs almost like the leverage bet on ETH. Um, it's ETH has lagged a lot of the cycle. Obviously, the usual stuff on the timeline with people saying he's dead and all this sort of bullshit, but it's obviously got the network effects with all the L2s, and you've got a lot of sticky capital in there now. What sort of kind of like short term or long term TA do you see with Ethereum?
Yeah, so you nailed it with the as far as overall. I think a lot of people on crypto Twitter again only pay attention to price or meme coins or alts and don't really look into anything outside of that. And that's why
Yeah,
when we were down here, uh, what was it? Probably yeah, like late last year, or I'm sorry, yeah, like spring of 2024, 2025, I was posting heavily about how, I think ETH is going to bottom out. And really for me is I was looking at a lot of watching these different interviews with these different guys. Tom Lee and stuff wasn't in yet, but pretty much the institutions were telegraphing that they were going to start building on Ethereum in a big way. You already had JP Morgan building on base.
yeah,
Um, and pretty much since then, since ETH bottomed out, obviously I think the ETH ETF, some of the DATs kind of pushed prices up. But now you essentially have BlackRock and a lot of these guys saying that Wall Street is essentially Ethereum is the blockchain of choice for Wall Street.
yeah,
These guys value first and foremost that the chain has never gone down. That's what they care about first and foremost with security when you're trying to secure billions of dollars and bonds or whatever they're putting on chain. So yeah, Ethereum is, as of right now, at least is where most of Wall Street and stuff is going to build on. And in that case, in the next several years, that's going to be, billions and trillions of dollars of stable coins, bonds, RWA. So I'm extremely bullish on the future of ETH, especially when activity's high. It's going to be deflationary. So in bullish conditions, I think ETH yet to break out of 5K. I think it's going to go to crazy numbers, 5, 10, 15, 20K someday. Again, because of how much stuff is going to be on chain. As far as the short-term price action, what it's telling us is I really like ETH's price action. It's more coiled up on the higher time frames than even Bitcoin and Solar. So I think we need to see it bottom out, probably see some consolidation, just like I was saying on Bitcoin. But on this next leg up, I think it breaks through all-time highs. And at that point, you're going to get a lot of people who still, like they were down here, just never thought ETH was ever going to reach all-time highs again. And it really just breaks this barrier of like FOMO for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And as more institutions come on, more ETFs, more DATs, more bonds, all that different stuff go on chain, I'm really bullish on ETH over the next 3 to 5 years.
I love that. So am I, obviously, because I have a shit ton of NFTs. But that white line you've drawn, what's the time between where it is now and where you've predicted that kind of upward trend?
Yeah. So when I draw these lines, a lot of times I'll tell people that like it's when the exact time frame it's going to be at. Like this has here on February. This could easily happen in January or it could happen in March. It's really timing, especially when it comes to like exact month to month or week to week, is the least predictable thing in all of crypto, right? Like these short patterns will tell us structure, like kind of probably what's next. But that same move could take 2 weeks to play out, could take a month to play out, 2 months, depending on a bunch of other things going on. So pretty much what I'd be looking for on ETH here is it for it to consolidate and kind of chop out, hold a low for a couple weeks, like I was showing you there on Bitcoin, and then move back up again in this move, which will break above the channel and then impulsively move back to all-time highs. But to answer your question, the timing on it is tough. Again, I think by end of year, I do think ETH will have found its bottom and very likely be, probably in close to 4,000 at least. But we'll see.
I love that. Do you, just on a personal note, do you manage to hold on to any Ethereum, or do you just find yourself buying NFTs with it?
Yeah, no, I have most of my portfolio right now is about, and I put a lot of money into a lot of my stables into alts and memes this last week.
Yeah.
But most of my portfolio is still 60% Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and stables.
Right.
So ETH is probably 20% of my portfolio. Yeah, I have a pretty good amount of my portfolio in ETH.
Okay.
So yeah, like I said, the Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol are just investor things for me. I'm not selling any of those, at least for a very long time. It's the memes and alts that I'm trading in and out of.
Okay. I like that. Okay. That's interesting. With the three of the assets, the way I kind of look at it is I don't really try and diversify too much. I kind of make these concentrated bets because I kind of feel everything just rises optically with Bitcoin. So it gets you thinking, well, and we'll move on to it in a second. A lot of my audience holds SUI because of some of the stuff I've written about, and we'll kind of come on to that. But somewhere in August last year, I wrote a post on it. It went semi-viral. Obviously, it helps when the price appreciation goes up. I think obviously Trump got voted in as kind of like the pro-business president, and all the asset prices were increasing. And obviously, it was a good kind of early bet. But you'll probably notice with the meme coins is that they go up by the highest percentage, but they also bleed the most. So you've got to kind of stomach the drawdown. And I know just whilst there's now 600 people on this live stream, which is amazing, Bren is going to be doing a guest post on SUI in carrotlane.com. So make sure you're a subscriber. You can either go through the link in my bio. It's free to subscribe. You'll get the newsletter either tomorrow or the following day, and it'll be a full breakdown some of the TA stuff that he's done, which would be amazing. You can kind of see it with your own eyes. But one of the things he's going to be doing going forward, and this is a message to my subscribers, is obviously because Bren is very good at the TA stuff. He's going to feature in a lot of the Carrot Lane newsletter communication that goes out because he's hot on this stuff, and we're trying to make things better and better. So that's the shameless plug. As Piers Morgan says, on with the show.
Yeah, you guys should definitely check out Carrot Lane. Jaden he's a great writer. Like we talked about on the last stream, which I'm gonna put out the clip today. He built on Medium. How many followers did you subscribe to?
90,000. I was 2,000 away from going past Joe Biden.
Oh wow!
So
damn, you couldn't get that done.
No, subscribers? Bro. But the thing is,
away?
Nah, but I couldn't do it when he obviously he had that speech, which is a debacle, and I thought, no, I'm not going to do him dirty like that. So I wasn't going to post anything online. I thought, okay, whatever. I don't want to beat elderly men in public. So
yeah,
that's come out wrong, actually.
Yeah, that did. Yeah, you don't want to do that in public or private.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, it's been a journey, mate, on Medium, and I appreciate the plug on there. Like a lot of my, a lot of my readers have kind of migrated over to Substack because Medium, you're kind of at the mercy of the algorithm. So you're putting stuff out there, and they're kind of pick and choose. And I had to be really clever about the way I was putting out content. So it was like, obviously, the NFT stuff doesn't have the mind share with all these people or the algorithm. So I had to kind of trick the algorithm by writing about traditional finance. And then what I slowly did was bled in things that had bigger mindshare, like Bitcoin, and then Ethereum, and then it was like Solana, and then it was SUI. And then what I was intentionally doing was taking my readers further down the risk curve into the things that I was actually interested in, which is NFTs. So I was kind of coaching them along the way. And then obviously, once we got onto Substack, the features became more immersive, so I could do the live streams, and I could do all these sorts of things. So it was a strong play. And because it's been a long journey, I was really intentional about how I got my readers into the NFTs. So I tried my very best to time the bottom, but then I also got them into the best risk-adjusted stuff. Like you and I know VeeFriends is a W. Anyone with half a fucking brain knows that that's going to be like one of the biggest IPs. You and I both know that. Trying to explain to people is a different thing. I think people now, it's interesting. People now, they look at it and they're like, actually, I'm watching the execution of this, and he's done the Topps Chrome stuff. Some of the the animations, a lot of the community engagement stuff.
Yeah, I think crypto Twitter is just really starting to come around to the idea of IPs, these things being IPs in general.
Yeah.
Because no one is really using that messaging, right? And I think that's because a lot of the time, you see what happened with the Azuki recently. They had to go through this. I think was necessary, but all Zagamon said in his post, which I could pull it up, but he talks about he pretty much talked about how they need to start focusing on building stuff outside of the NFT crypto world in order to get new fans into the universe.
Yeah, but
a lot of people took that as, oh, he's going to go away from the NFTs. And I think that's because until now, most of these founders weren't using the language around IP because that turns people off. They think that it means non-NFTs.
Yeah.
But that's what these things are. The only way these things are going to maintain 5, let alone 6-figure floor prices again, is if it's the next Pokemon or the next Hello Kitty or the next whatever,
Mate, crypto people are mad. I know that they like we're on X and we think this is like the apex of the universe and everyone knows about this stuff. No one knows anything. Like no one. These things are so geeky, mate. Like last cycle, there were 23 million NFT collectors. 23 million. That's nothing.
Yeah, I feel it's still to this day telling people I'm in crypto is still like an experience. But imagine telling people, oh yeah, I work in NFTs or I'm NFTs. It's like you're right. It's so like that's like telling people, oh yeah, I'm in Bitcoin in like 2013. Like really, that's what it is.
Bro, I went on a date the other night and it was going famously, and I thought I thought, like, I am not going to screw this up. And she obviously asked what I did. And I told her, and this is how maybe you could box it up, or anyone listening, is is I said, obviously I'm a writer, but and she said, oh, what do you write about? And I'm like, modern finance.
Yeah.
I should just come up with something a bit more fancier, like media entertainment.
Yeah, at least you got the writing thing though. It's like I'm a writer. Like you can just simply saying that, But
Yeah. Well,
that's so funny.
I think people's brains immediately kind of flip to, oh, you're an author. What books have you written?
Yeah.
So maybe I should just write a book on NFTs or something. I don't know. But mate, good stuff. What I want to do is flip to the SUI chart if we could.
Yeah, let's do it.
A lot of my readers have SUI, but then at the end of it, I want to circle back to the NFT stuff because, mate, one thing you and I love speaking to people that I have things in common with, and especially around the NFTs. I fucking love it, mate. So we can kind
Before we do that though, let's reset the show. If you guys are watching from Carrot Lane, Jaden's ex, my ex, first of all, appreciate you guys for being here, taking your time to be here with us. Always appreciate if you guys like, comment, retweet, bookmark, all that good stuff. Jaden was on my stream last week. We should be doing some other streams here coming up. But right now we're about to talk about SUI. We're going to talk a little bit about NFTs. If you have any comments, questions, anything, we will see it, whether you're on X or wherever you're at. So,
no, I appreciate it, mate. I'm periodically taking pictures of this, the amount of viewers on here, because I've got a second date with this girl, and I'm going to tell her I'm kind of a big deal. I don't know how to say that. No, I'm joking. I'm not that guy. Bro, I appreciate the plug. One of the things it's interesting. I've got Victoria Vidandi, who is the first female solo artist on Ethereum. She's a wonderful human, and she said to me, Jay, you've got to keep resetting the room after every 20 minutes, and you've just done that, and you just reminded me.
Yeah, sometimes I forget on my show, like I'll start and just get into like shit, and then I'll realize, oh fuck, it's like 40 minutes.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I've just had 300 people more join, and they don't have a fucking clue what I'm talking about. But no, that's quality, bro. I appreciate you doing that. So just to kind of track back a little bit, obviously SUI was something I wrote about in August. The blog went viral. It did help that financial conditions were kind of improving. Then because Trump got in, the dollar went up, and then it started squeezing conditions, and then everything collapsed, and then it went back up again. But my thoughts on SUI is that it's outperformed everything in an up cycle, but obviously in a down cycle, it becomes the worst performer because it's not been battle tested. It's a first cycle asset, and it's more on the inverse side of it. It's more speculative, so people kind of dump it early, and then they go to their kind of flight to safety, which is Bitcoin or Ethereum. But then also there's less sticky capital, and I guess in these smaller chains. So when we have a liquidation event like we did a week or two ago, or it felt like 3 months ago, but it was probably like a week ago, it bleeds the most. So obviously I've got a whole bunch of readers who are in SUI. What are your thoughts just by looking at the chart, and what do you see?
Yeah, so you made a great point by saying SUI has outperformed pretty much everything to the upside. And usually, and this goes pretty much across all alts memes, usually stuff that performs during one part of the cycle usually tends to perform the next few years for many reasons, usually because there's good aspects about it there, that good team or as a flywheel or whatever it may be. So I will say that there's legitimacy to that most of the time. Like I said, it will perform on this next leg up usually. But if you just look at the chart here, I have these corrective channels drawn out. You can just see that SUI, since this bull run has started in 2022, 23, has gone through several of these corrections before, right? And this is always a bullish sign when coins have, especially like big L1s like this, have been through these big corrective channels or corrections and then come out. And this one's definitely a brutal one. SUI is down 75%, which
From all-time highs.
yeah, from all-time
Yeah.
highs. Which again, it's it's an L1, so that's a lot. But then again, we've seen Sol, real quickly, just to flip back to there. What did it do earlier this year? It went down 60-70% as well. So
Yeah.
not unheard of. But generally, I do think SUI is going to do what Bitcoin and ETH does and be kind of a leverage bet on Bitcoin and ETH. I do think it will outperform, especially with how much it's gotten battered.
Mm.
If you are a big believer in SUI and or this thesis for 2026 being a very strong year, this is probably a great buy here. You want to see again, some kind of slowdown or shift of momentum, like a weekly, green weekly candle. But just the chart alone, we've been through these before. I think if Bitcoin does turn around, SUI, in the top, I don't know what is in the top 20.
Yeah.
As far as L1s go, it's right up there with like AVAX, I think, is probably the best
Yeah.
reward, asymmetric bet. And then if you look at everything else, like they most recently, before the top, I think made a partnership with Pokemon. Like they have Pokemon game on SUI chain. So
Yeah.
obviously it's a good team. They're making good partnerships. The signs are there. I think when bullish conditions do come back in 25, 26, end of 25, 26, that SUI probably goes back to all-time highs. It's kind of my base case.
Yeah. I mean, the thing obviously the detail you give there is amazing. And I think that the way I look at it is obviously because it's smaller, the market cap, and it's outperforming on price. Just like you say, when I guess retail come in, they'll just amplify what's already happening in the space. And then the bet becomes like, okay, so the two top performers, I guess, like in the majors would probably be SUI and XRP. But SUI's market cap is 10 billion, and then XRP's is like 208 or something.
Yeah.
So it's like it's XRP's got to go at 20 times the buy pressure just to tread water with SUI. Now, obviously, it's been battle tested. It's got that Lindy effect, and it's got a strong community behind it. So you could probably go into XRP with more size. But the SUI bet just looks like the one. And every cycle, there seems to be one new anointed chain. Like obviously, last cycle was Solana. Then the cycle before was Ethereum, and it feels like a race to the top for these L1s. And then you look at the L1 race and you're like, in my opinion, I don't see anything that beats SUI. I just don't. I can't see it. I think the team are unbelievable. They're the X team at Facebook. There's 5 of them. They tried to launch that Libra token, and obviously they had all the regulatory issues. I don't know if you remember when Mark Zuckerberg was in Congress answering questions, and there was like a meme because they were asking him just like the most basic questions about like how the internet worked, and he was like, "What the fuck is this? Like, you guys are questioning me about a coin." So they are. I think it's the Move protocol. And then the final straw for me, Bud, was the fact that I found out that Raoul Pal was on the advisory board, and I was like, this is a safety signal. The team are executing, and price rules all. So I'm thinking this thing's outperforming. So there's a lot of good stuff here, and I think the final part of it is that your ordinary everyday person will just look at it and go, "Oh, that's cheap," or they'll look at it at $3 or $2.50 or whatever the price is at the moment, and they'll go, "Oh, that's cheap," and they'll think that they can get more units, and then they'll compare it to Bitcoin and go, "Oh, what if it gets to the price of Bitcoin?" This is how people think, mate.
Yeah.
This is like basic shit, but this is how people think. You might think that that's bollocks, but it's true.
It is.
The amount of people I've got into crypto, and they go, "Oh," they make the comparison. "Oh, do you think it'll get to Bitcoin?" And I'm just like, "But they would literally be like all the world's wealth." Like, it's crazy. So those are my thoughts. I mean, if we just take the inverse position for a second, any negatives that you see?
Again, so like when I was talking about impulsivity earlier,
Yeah.
usually you want when a move's corrective, Like these ones were more clear corrections, like where if you go down to the daily, it's
Yeah.
very like choppy. You see how there's big bounces in between. Even though this was a 50% move down on SUI, you see how it's corrective in nature, how it's bouncing, getting these bounces in between versus the bear market where SUI wasn't really around in a bear market, but versus red candles. You want to be adding into these corrective like structures,
Yeah.
and ideally you don't want to be caught up in like an impulsive type move where it's just straight red candles. Straight red
Yeah.
candles tell us that very likely we're in the middle of a big reversal. Now, I will say this move down is not as impulsive. I'm sorry, not as corrective as the past few.
Yeah.
It's definitely been more red and straight down.
It's more trending
Um,
down, isn't it?
exactly, more impulsive to the downside where it's just straight red candles, especially on the weekly.
Yeah.
As you can see, it's pretty much been except this one in October, it's been just straight red candles. But like I said, there's a lot more that goes into it. I typically, like I said, I do think Bitcoin, ETH, it will follow Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol. And we've
Yeah.
seen corrections on the ETH that have looked like the one I just we're looking at on SUI. That's just more just straight red. You see, like right here, right here. So sometimes, just because it looks more impulsive doesn't mean it's a top. But just to answer your question, yeah, this one definitely looks more severe and just more straight impulsive, which is
Mm.
definitely not as cleaner price action as you'd like to see. But I still think looking at the bigger picture, that SUI will head higher into next year.
Yeah, nice one. So if let's just say you hold a bit of SUI, maybe you've got a bit of capital on the sidelines.
Yeah.
When is a good time to kind of DCA in? Is it now, or
Yeah.
you sit
So
on your hands for a bit, or
so typically we're down 75% already. So yeah, I think right now, if you haven't already, would typically be a great time to start. If again, giving yourself a time where we could be months before SUI sees an all-time high. But with the understanding of that, but yeah, I think 75% now, the chances that it's going to go down to 80 or 90, I personally would not wait for that.
yeah,
So yeah, down 75, 80% on an L1, I think is a great time to DCA. If you have this thesis and agree with this thesis that we're probably going to go into next year, yeah, I think right now would be a great time to start. And really just doing however much like a day or a week that you're willing to put in, and just putting that in and not really worrying about price.
yeah,
At least until you're back to 2, 5, 3. I would be averaging in if I was like a SUI believer.
yeah, nice one. I think in a few of those previous corrective phases, I've been adding, so I'm kind of at the end of my capital at the moment, my friend. So it's kind of a case for me is just to kind of sit on my hands with this one, which I'm really comfortable with. And then somewhere I guess towards maybe Q2 or the middle of the year next year, I'll take some lifestyle chips off the table. But what I want to do this cycle is kind of do the multi-cycle play, because I didn't do it with Ethereum, and I fucked up because if I'd have done it with Ethereum, I'd have rolled the ETH into some of the NFT plays, and some of the NFT plays went up 40x. So it would have ended up substantially different on the back end. And then my second kind of bite at the cherry was Solana. And then obviously Solana had its aggressive, you say about the 75% correction. I mean, NFTs went down by like 95% on a fiat basis, but then Solana dropped from $247 to $8 after the FTX debacle. Now the liquidation event that we had a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago was 20 times bigger than the FTX fallout, like 20 times. So it's when you put it in perspective like that, I've kind of been numb to it, but I am empathetic to the fact that I do have a whole bunch of readers who are kind of getting into this is their first cycle. Some of them have kind of double dabbled in previous cycles. But this might be the first cycle that they've kind of gone bigger based on a number of safety signals. So I am empathetic to that. And when something does drop by that high percentage, it's even for me, like it's like gut wrenching stomach punch.
Yeah, logically, it's like crazy. This asset's gone down 75%. Like, there's no other asset class in the world. Like, you tell that to any stock person, they're telling you, oh, that thing's dead. You need to get out. It's hard to put these things into perspective, but I think that's why it's so valuable to, one, have time in the game. And that's not like me like bragging, oh, I have 10 years in the game. It's me trying to inspire people to just stick with it for a few years, and you'll have that much more of an advantage because you're able to put things into perspective. You're able to compare it to your past experiences. And then two, look at the charts. Like, dude, like I'm showing you here, weekly chart. It's like the weekly chart on SUI or ETH. Go and look at these things yourself. It's way easier to compare. Obviously, history never is the exact same, but these things tend to rhyme, especially the charts and how they play out, because it's based on human, behavior. Go and look at these charts yourself, so you're able to compare it to past stuff, and you're able to see, okay, SUI has already had 4 or 5 of these corrections this year. ETH has corrected, Bitcoin has corrected 30% already 4 times this year, especially with the meme coins. This coin has corrected 50 or 60% 4 times in the last year. It allows you to put things in a perspective and realize that, this stuff happens, this happened before, and maybe it's not as big of a deal as you're making it, seem,
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's kind of par for the course when these things drop as much as they do, and you can either see the opportunity in it, or you can look at it. You can do what other people do. I mean, I notice this with a newsletter is that when financial conditions get squeezed, is that my open rates drop, and there's something in that because it means that people aren't focused on the space. Conversely, when like the whole thing was happening, when Trump came into power and obviously Bitcoin went up to all-time highs, is my open rates increased. So it's kind of like obviously it creates this loop of sustained attention because people are interested in kind of grabbing onto the momentum. Whereas actually what you need to do is just stick around and methodically maybe add to your position, or if you haven't got the capability to add, at least don't be a tourist. Like, don't just like dip in and out of the space. I think just like stick around, like stick at it, because the reason why people don't make money in crypto is because of this. This is the reason why people don't make money in crypto, is because they fucking shit themselves at something like this, whereas you just need a little bit of confidence around it. And just to reset the room, because I'm taking a leaf out of your book, Bren. I'm sending out a blog tomorrow, and if Bren can get me over his piece, his TA piece will be included in the blog. If not, I'll do a part 2. But we're going to write. We're going to be writing together. We're going to be doing guest posts together in carrotlane.com. If you go to the link in my bio, you just sign up as a free subscriber, and then obviously if you do want to upgrade. There are some fantastic community benefits. I've got a lot of my community actually listening at the moment, and some of them in the WhatsApp chat. I did say to the guys in the WhatsApp chat, ask any questions, and no one's answered. No one's asked any questions, so we're all good, unless my signal's gone or anything. So yeah. So that's SUI out the way. I want to. Firstly, I had one question, which was. Anything that you notice that you think is a bit of a sleeper that's kind of going under the radar that people should maybe have a look at? Any thoughts? And it could be anything random or.
Yeah. I'll just say what I've been focusing a lot of my DCAing on. And really kind of where I see the best kind of value going into 2026. And really, obviously, I think we're talking SUI, ETH, Bitcoin, all the top 10, I think is going to do well. A lot of the reason, even XRP, probably stuff like ETA and even that stuff. For a lot of the reason, I think these TradFi investor types are going to start to come into crypto and buy stuff further down the risk curve. You're going to see ETFs around these things and stuff as well. But further down from there, really where I've been, and again, I do have a lot of this stuff, SUI, AVAX, which is an L1, which again hasn't seen an all-time high in a while, but I do think is one of those L1s up there with SUI that will kind of outperform. And then past from there, I've been DCing a lot of the, and again, like probably 20% of my portfolio, 25, 20 to 20, maybe 25 to 30% of my portfolios in these coins I'm going to talk about right now.
Okay.
And that is in a kind of a barbell between these coins with revenue and like flywheels that are starting to start, right? So for those of you who don't know, is, traditionally Jaden talked about earlier where these stocks will buy back, companies will buy back their stock as essentially as a way to, lock up more supply and favor like the dynamics. What a lot of these companies in crypto are starting to do is do buybacks of their own token using their revenue. That's the same thing Apple will do. They use their cash to buy back the stock. Instead, Pump Fund, for example, is one of them. Obviously, Pump Fund, a huge meme coin or crypto launch pad, and they take fees off of every coin that's launched. They're then taking that revenue to buy back the Pump coin. And then I don't know if they're burning it or locking up. I think they're locking it up. And in turn, that's it giving value directly back to holders. And you're seeing Uniswap just recently did the same thing where they're taking their revenue from the fees, buying back the Uni token and burning it. That's directly giving value back to holders. I'm very bullish on this narrative. I think TradFi investors are going to value this. It's for the first time where there's direct like flows of value to the actual holders of the token. So Uniswap, for example, I have some of that. That one's a kind of a higher cap. Pump. And again, if you're not even if you're not even a meme coin person at all, this is kind of a pick and shovels play on meme coins and crypto coins being launched in general, right? If you think the market's going to come back, very likely there's going to be new coins launched. You don't have to bet on the each individual meme coin, but this is a launch pad that I believe once the market comes back, especially with the flywheel, a lot of people are using it.
Bro, that looks like a wedge pattern forming there. Have I got that right?
Right here. Higher time frames. Yeah, it does. It is kind of forming those kind of corrective structures where it has bounces, where instead of just going straight down, red candle of death. So you're right. Yeah, that's definitely higher time frame corrective. Definitely looks good. So stuff like this, Aster is another one, which is a Perplex. Hype is probably another one right up there. It's like a really higher market cap now too. Coins again that produce revenue, that have flywheels and directly giving value back to the holders. Very bullish on those coins. Those are higher capped. And the reason I say it's the barbell is the other side is I used to call them movement memes, but now I'm really just calling them movement coins because I think they've kind of surpassed meme coins, where you think of meme coins, Doge, dog coins back in the day. It's just a coin around a singular picture or person or event. These movement coins I'm talking about, MOG, for example, SPX 6900, GigaCAD, some of these other coins are movements where there's a bigger idea around them. And people are continuing to push in them despite price being down. You saw SPX 6900 go to like 2 billion almost.
It went on a rip.
Yeah, it's
I like that. It's interesting, and I don't know enough about the meme coins, but it's like the ones that have the bigger mind share usually kind of tend to last, or memes tend to last into the.
Yeah, it's because the mind share is built around an actual community, and like they used to be called cult coins, people would call them. But where there's like V Friends, for example, price hasn't been moving at all for a while. It's been going in fluctuations, but there's still diehard community members who really just love the IP. They love Gary. They love everything around it. That's how these movement memes are. Whereas most of these times, these meme coins, when they dump, most people are just gone. They don't care. These movement memes, MOG probably being the biggest example, where it went from 7 million to when I first saw it all the way down to 2 billion from literally just a group of guys on Twitter. I think once as society speculation starts to grow, people are looking for community and places to belong. I'm really bullish on the idea of tokenized communities really taking off and getting to billions of dollars in market cap. And I think these SPX, GigaChad, MOG, USD, you see a few of these that have 6 months to 2+ years in the game. have people all over TikTok creating content, doxed and all this stuff, have a shot at really doing really well. So just a
Yeah.
few of those. I'm not scattered in a bunch. There's 4 or 5 that I really believe in that, again, have survived. Those ones I just named there, for example, have all been through 4 or 5, 50 to 90% corrections before. They're battle tested. And I think on these next legs up are going to go to the 5s to 10s of billions of dollars.
Yeah, I think they're gonna fucking rip, mate. But the thing I find with all of this is like, how far do you dilute yourself? Like, there's only I've personally only got so much bandwidth, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, do I stay concentrated in some of the stuff I did buy when Crypto Jesus or Murad was talking about SPX 6900 as his top bet? I thought, you know what, I'm just going to have a rule now that I'll put a couple $100 into something just to get some skin in the game. If I hear something on the timeline, almost just as a hedge against my own mental health in case it goes to Valhalla, which I think is actually a really good strategy, because you get to feel the price movement. And you're like, oh, okay, this feels a bit lighter, and obviously it did go up, but I think the SPX 6900 is like the one that you don't really see on the timeline, but it's got the mind share. I don't see enough of it on the timeline, but
it's like VFriends, right? Like, I think it's right now, crypto Twitter is so small that the only way these things break to 5 to 10 billion is if they escape crypto Twitter. And you're starting to see SPX do that on TikTok. A lot of these people are willing to show their face and talk about it, which a lot of these other communities aren't. It's like that with VFriends, right? It might not reflect in price right away, but if there's another boom, NFT boom or a crypto boom, these are the assets that I think are set up the most to inspire a lot of people and bring in a lot of new people.
Yeah, I think it's also very anti-establishment as well.
That's exactly what it is. It's like people wanting to be a part of something that's why the memetics on SPX 6900 are so high, is because they're trying to flip the S&P 500 into such a high memetic goal, which sounds crazy, but it's bullish because
it's fucking mad. It's like, but also the 69 is such a crypto thing.
Yeah,
it's like oh, bro, I love it.
That's what's great about SPX too, is that because it actually had a period where it did really well in 2023, came down like 95% and went sideways for like a year, and then Murad kind of came in and it had another resurgence. So
yeah, because he's held on to his stuff. He hasn't sold anything, which is crazy. So well, it's not crazy. Obviously, he has conviction in it. I haven't sold any of my stuff, so which he probably thinks is crazy. But I just want to segue slightly. And mate, I appreciate all the stuff you've done on that TA. It's fucking fantastic. It's something that I had kind of resisted for a while. More because I'm more of a set it and forget it person. So I'm not looking to trade the swings or anything like that. However, I realize I don't represent. I represent probably a smaller portion of folks than I realize. But moving on to the NFTs, I mean, is there anything that you kind of look at the moment? Obviously, we've mentioned VFriends. Are there any particular NFT projects that you're like, this is good to look at? And any particular reasons behind it, whether it's an IP play or traditional art, or has historical significance or anything like that you think that you
so I'm just,
because I know the last time we spoke, you were very bullish on VFriends too, and actually just as a kind of like a practice go for people to kind of just get their kind of foot on the ladder.
Sorry, wait, what was the question?
Oh no, I just said the last conversation we had, you mentioned, like, I put it on you and I said, listen, if someone's got $1,000, where would you be spending it? And your suggestion was VFriends 2, also as kind of like a good entry into NFTs if they hadn't bought NFTs before.
Typically. So I think with the three categories that will do well whenever we do get NFT conditions good again, and I still think about it all the time, like it could go a number of ways. I think NFTs, like we talked about last show, are kind of an asset class that's kind of waiting for a catalyst. I think it's obvious that NFT technology is probably on the brink of, like, I don't know. We were talking about the FWOG drop. I think that all I think the technology is going to be transformational. It's like a matter of time.
Yeah.
As far as when NFT conditions could pop off, we've seen, Bored Apes go up like 3 or 4x off of just like these small crypto announcements. I think there's like a number of things that could happen of any type of NFT integration in any type of big S&P 500 or a big company or industry could lead to like another mania in NFTs.
Yeah.
And when that does happen, I think the three categories that are going to do well are the IP plays, and I think that's like the easiest way if you are looking to come into NFTs is find whatever IP and or community that you really resonate with. Really more on the IP side. I think if you're trying to make a long-term thing, is find the IP that you think think has the best shot at growing into something that millions of people or thousands of people could start to love, like, to fall in love with, or has the best shot at that. And then first and foremost, find whatever you love to collect. I think I've found out more than anything in the last 6 months that NFTs are just a game of collecting. That's the only way that these things are going to be really successful, like long term, is if they're collectible. Like people want to collect them because the IP itself is very,
Yeah.
successful. So find whatever you like to collect. If you more resonate with the pudgy penguins, go and do that. Azuki, if you're an anime person, Azuki might be for you. Bored Apes, you love what they're doing with the other side. You're more of a gamer. That might be for you. VeeFriends, I think, kind of is the most universal. Great community. I think it's a great bet on a founder that just understands this NFT stuff more than anything. I think that one's the most no brainer, especially where they're at 1 ETH. I think VeeFriends are going to be up there with the Pudgies and Bored Apes, and that's where my bet's at. But really, to
Yeah.
answer your question, find what you love to collect and what you're willing to hold for months or for years, because I think that's we might get a frenzy next couple months, but really, I think NFTs the next 6 months to year, 2 years, it's a game of collecting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I was speaking to Drew Austin, who's like one of the bigger VCs in the space. I think he's deployed like 30-40 million dollars into like 100 different startups. And he says actually a good way to de-risk is just to be a consumer of the product.
Yeah.
Because ordinarily you get lost in the process of being involved in the community and all the activations, all those sorts of things. And over time, you actually hold on to the asset for longer, and it allows it the time to appreciate in value. And I thought it was a clever, like I'd heard that being said before, and I kind of had that same sort of mindset. So what you said there was spot on, which is find a community you resonate with, because the other thing about this is that these communities become your friendship groups. It's like I didn't know until I bought my Mutant that I resonate with a lot of the Bored Ape holders. They're kind of my same kind of demographic in terms of age and that sort of thing. Bit of bro culture, that sort of stuff. And a lot of the folks in the historical community as well, same sort of age. And then VeeFriends. So, I obviously got into VeeFriends. I was into it for the financial side of it. I minted it on the first day. I've kept on buying them ever since. But what really sealed it for me was part of the NFTs. You got a ticket, or you got a 3-year access to VCon, and the first one was in Minnesota. Flew out to Minnesota. Hadn't been to America since I was like 18. Land there the first day. We go out, have a few beers. I get absolutely shit-faced, and that's English slang for drunk. I don't know if that can.
No, people say shit.
Do you guys say shit-faced or not?
Yeah.
So, and then I get a text in the WhatsApp group, and they're like, "Guys, because we're supposed to meet in the square the first day," and they're like, "Guys, the queue's fucking long. We're going to be waiting for a few hours here, or an hour or whatever." And we're meeting in the square, and I get to the back of the queue, and the back of the queue is actually at the back of the stage, and Gary Vee is on stage. And midway through his speech, bearing in mind the guy's talking to like 4,000 people on a fucking grassy knoll. Midway through his speech, he goes, "Fuck it, I'm going to the back of the queue." And everyone at the back of the queue was like, "What?" So he gets off stage, and he starts, like, bearing in mind everyone just stood there watching him. just like waiting for his speech. He just basically got off stage, come backstage, started dapping people up backstage, like hugging people at the back of the queue. And obviously all the people like who got in early were watching, like thinking, what the fuck's going on? And then the other signal was Andy Kranak. He's the president of VFriends, and he queued up with everyone else. And I thought, you know what? If this VFriends thing doesn't work out, it is going to work out, because it is already working out. But I knew I was in the right community, in the right place, and I resonated with. So that's kind of looping back to what you said about choosing your community. So yeah, I knew then, I was like, I'm in the right place here. These are fucking good people. And actually, Gary lives his, he lives his mantra online. It's not just all smoke and mirrors or anything like that.
Yeah, and I won't even go into it, but yeah, you're right. I had that same experience when I started joining the community. Went to the events, but even before that, just these stories I've heard of things he's done for people. He's definitely definitely the person that you see in the videos and everything. Great guy. Yeah. But what I was gonna say, Carl, I do see your comment in the chat. What's up, brother? How you doing? Quick recap of what I missed. All right, get ready. Take notes. No, we were just talking about Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, just some of the stuff we would be looking for before the bottom. Talking about NFTs right now. Pretty crazy to see a Zuki under 1 ETH.
Yeah, I know. I mean, a lot of this, these NFTs have these kind of Metcalfe's law effect, the same way the coins do, like the network effects, except on steroids, because one, they've got the scarcity built into them, and two, because they're expressive assets, people don't want to sell them. So you say it's a bit of a shock, but like I'm not, I know people hold Azuki and all those sorts of things. But when you make the comparative, or you played the comparison game with the founders, there are other founders who probably have had less failure rates. I know running a business is like UFC. You're going to fail at some point. But I remember in those early days of Zagabond, I think he's dumped a few projects. I'm not taking a stab at him. It's just my personal opinion, which is why I didn't kind of lean into it. Although, I think the community is great, and that's ultimately the thing that's going to keep it all together. This is why I like what Gary's doing, and I don't want to make this a fucking VFriends thing, but he's cross-pollinating the Web 2 stuff with Web 3. And then what people are saying is, oh no, he's a tourist. He's a Web 2 guy, and he tried to. It was an VFriends was an extraction event, which is complete bullshit, because what he's doing is very fucking clever.
I think it's just coming from the understanding of people's worldview that these are NFTs and they're gonna grow by being NFTs, and they need to do NFT things to bring people in. And Gary just realized 2 years ago what everybody's realizing now, that the only way these NFTs are, and he put it perfectly in the OpenSea interview the other day.
Yeah.
He said I'm going to do what's necessary to make these NFTs collectible, whether that be a theme park in Dubai in 10 years, or that it be a Netflix movie. Like, these people, I think, on Twitter who see him as like, oh, he's a tourist, is because he's working on the real world stuff, the cards, all that stuff, which is going to bring in the millions of people, thousands of people into the NFTs, which he's already doing, in order to build the brand big enough to make the NFTs collectible. And he said in the interview the other day, he's doing stuff that is good for the industry that I think everybody will model after. So yeah, I think that just comes from the worldview that the only way these NFTs are going to grow is by NFT only things. And that's just,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think the other thing that I like that he's doing is, and actually it's sticking out like a sore thumb at the moment. And look, I love all the other projects, like the Chimpers and the Good Vibes Club, and Pudgy Penguins and Azuki and all of those. But the thing that stands out to me is the character recognition. So it's like, oh, I recognize Patient Panda, or I recognize Rare Robot.
Yep.
And then there's a connection there. I mean, even with the apes, I know that the apes are synonymous with the space. Like when I speak to my normie friends about NFTs, they go, Oh, the apes. So apes have got like the kind of mind share of owning the space.
Yeah, it's
which
because
is
they did
fine.
the whole celebrity thing, like all they had
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah. And then, but it's like um, they have the mind share, but obviously you can't name any. There's no character development there. It's
Can you
just
name any other collections that have characters?
no.
I think that's important with character development, right? In order to fall in love, and I'm sure a lot of these will, like the Pudgies are already doing their cartoons and then making characters, and
Yeah,
whoever had that Pudgy, even though it doesn't say the character's name, that's still synonymous, I think, with the character in the show or whatever. But
yeah,
that's such a great point. I think, and I've heard Gary make this point when saw him in New Orleans and stuff that like VFriends, I think, is the only project that has 200 plus characters. And in order for people to fall in love with storylines, you think about Pokemon, you think about Disney, you think about any of these, they fall in love with characters and storylines, right? And I'm
yeah,
sure that they're gonna figure out the way to make storylines around these NFTs that don't have names. But I think it's better if it's, and probably more collectible if it's on the name of the original NFT. No.
yeah. Well, yeah, I think so. I think just on the Pudgy's point. I mean, like I'm in a WhatsApp chat, which is a cricket one because I play cricket in the summer, and there's people that share the gifs of Pudgy Penguins, not actually realizing it's an NFT play. Like there were people when Doodles collaborated with McDonald's and people had the cups. People didn't realize that the origins of the design were from an NFT project, and I think there will be more of that as we go along. Um, you know,
I remember even like a year and a half ago, this girl, like, she sent me a Pudgy Penguin GIF, and I know for a damn fact she knew nothing about NFTs.
yeah,
So yeah, you see those, they've had billions of views on the Giphy thing. They're definitely transcending crypto a lot in that way, and they have, even Chimpers has that $2 million follower TikTok account.
yeah,
Pudgy Penguins has the same thing, but on Instagram, and it looks like what works for them is they're kind of doing the cookie cutter, like trendy, like cartoony, or I don't even know how to explain it, but
yeah. It's kind of playful. You got to touch the screen and stuff. It's quite interesting what they're doing. I actually really like it.
yeah.
And in fact, I like what both sets of brothers are doing. Um, and it's quite interesting that they're both sets of brothers are good friends as well, and they've both adopted the strategy tokens. Is it the punk strategy stuff? Have you looked into any of that?
Yeah, so I've been, yeah, I did some, I've definitely done a bunch of research on it, and I've been buying Punk Strategy and the Pudgy Strategy, a few of the other ones that I think are going to bounce back. But
Yeah,
like we talked about on last show, I think it's just a bet on an NFT run, right? I'm sure some
yeah,
of them will have these smaller catalysts that cause runs on the token, and maybe some of I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if the coin runs, if the market and the coin market bounces back, to see if Punkster runs with the crypto market, or if it kind of stays down if the NFTs don't run or don't sell.
yeah,
But overall, I think they're just a bet, right, on some type of resurgence in NFTs. And if you're talking about crypto punks, I think there's a argument to be made that even if NFTs, the IP NFTs, don't bounce back, that crypto punks, just as a flex or as a status symbol as Ethereum goes up in value, is probably a good bet that they'll keep going up. And
mm,
punk strategy is probably a good bet. And if we do get another NFT resurgence we talk about, which I think is likely in the next few years, then I think these coins are a
yeah.
great bet
Well,
there.
the thing I like about the strategy tokens, and I said this before, is you ordinarily lean into the project where you wouldn't have done. I would not have looked twice at Chimpers or Good Vibes Club at half an Ethereum because it's just too much of a thing to have exposure to an ecosystem. But I could buy a couple of $100 of their strategy token, and now, I feel like I have a stake in the conversation. And it's the same with the punk strategy or punkster, or whatever you want to call it, because I don't have a spare $150,000 floating around, or whatever the floor price of punks is at the moment. But I I can enter a position with size, and I can speculate on the price appreciation of an asset that I just think is a no fucking brainer, mate. Like, if anyone, it's funny. I don't know if you follow Beanie. He put something on the timeline about punks not being a good bet anymore, and he changed his PFP to I think he changed it to a Pudgy Penguin, and it was like, to me, it seemed like an obvious troll.
Yeah.
And I think people didn't read it that way. But there is no world where CryptoPunks do not do well. Like just none. It's like saying to people in, I guess, ordinary crypto, like Bitcoin's not gonna survive into the future. It's just absolute madness. What's the floor price on the
Yeah, it's
crypto?
like Gary said.
The
Sorry, there might be. Is there a delay?
no,
Say
you're
something.
good. It's just with the CryptoPunks on OpenSea, they just show the wrap ones, I think. Or do they, or have they changed that?
I think OpenSea they just made it so
So you can
they
view
it's
it.
like they're like the only exchange that has CryptoPunks now. I think they removed them off Magic Eden.
Okay. Interesting.
But yeah, no, the CryptoPunks. I think like Gary says too. It's like every other one of these NFTs has work to do in order
Yeah.
to like be successful, except CryptoPunks. Like they have that provenance. It's like the original NFT, original 10K
Yeah.
NFT project. So yeah, I think they'll probably go to 1 million or either way, and that probably makes Punkster a pretty
Yeah.
good
I
bet.
mean, I fucking, like CryptoPunks being, I think the floor price went to about 125 Ethereum when ETH was at all-time highs. It
Yeah,
might have been 150 ETH. I remember searching it, and I got varying information online. Anyway,
let's see,
there is 30 odd CryptoPunks listed between. I think.
113.9 ETH,
Say that again.
113.9. There's 20
What,
sales at
what
113.9.
date was that?
October 8th, 21.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Um, so yeah, if that was the floor price. But yeah, what was I going to say?
Sorry, my bad.
No, you're good. You're good. There is something like 30 relisted CryptoPunks in the Token Words protocol between
Wow.
50 and 60 ETH or 50 and 57 ETH. It isn't a bet. It's a bet on the underlying asset that those will sell. And when they do, Punk strategy is going to the fucking moon. The problem is that people are impatient and they can see that the CryptoPunks floor is dropping, but it's dropping further away from the protocol tokens, and then they're dumping their punkster. But it doesn't make sense because you're going to trade back into it, and then what you're having to do is, because there's a 10% rake each time you're trading,
Yeah.
is you're having to outpace 20% each time you trade. So you might as well just do fucking nothing. You might as well just sit there and go, well, okay, or just add to your position if you kind of believe in it, which I
Yeah,
do.
I made a post about it the other day. I was like, these, not the other day, like a month ago,
Yeah,
saying that the strategy tokens are a bet on another NFT kind of bull run, or at least a run in whatever the NFT is. And
yeah,
like if you can't stomach any downside, like it's definitely not for you, like to be buying these. But again, it's like a game of chicken every time, right? It's like I don't know, prices go down in ETH and USD, but once it comes back. If it does come back, obviously, you
yeah,
know,
mate.
but
A perfect outcome would be everything goes up. You imagine? Do you remember in 2021 when ETH was pumping and every single NFT project you touched like 10x? I
yeah,
remember. I remember people being pissed on the timeline at a 3x.
yeah,
Like
they're
they
like,
were
fuck,
getting,
it's not
they
even
were
worth
getting
my time.
They were like, "What the fuck am I doing? This is a 3x." Like it was 10x or nothing, and it was just like, mate, those were crazy times, bro. Because it was just like there weren't many NFT projects. There was this huge amount of demand, um, and I guess the that's what led to some of the allure around Bored Ape Yacht Club, which I
I saw
completely.
this tweet the other day too by this guy Leon Aboud. We've talked about this before too, but he says every brand one day will have digital collectibles. These will be NFTs. This is
Yeah,
the natural trajectory of digital marketing, and crypto is a perfect tech for it. I mean, this was what Gary was saying in 2021 that it'll be a huge thing, and I could see that, especially like we were talking about with Nike, where you buy that shoe, it gives you a digital collectible, and that digital collectible acts as an authentication if you were ever to resell it. It
yeah,
allows Nike to send you, airdrop you whatever, market you to whatever, or get you to whatever pocket, track your behavior. And then what that also allows is for digital wallets to become like Gary said, the next social media, or like what
Yeah.
companies are actually using to track your behavior and all that. What do you think about this?
The marketing side of it, or the social, go on, just explain that.
Well, he was just saying how every brand will want to have digital collectibles. Like, could you see a future where?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we're already seeing it play out. I think every single company will release an NFT project the same way they have a Facebook page. So
That's not.
the
Can you go into that more? Like how you see that? That's crazy.
what's that?
Can you go into how you see that more? That's
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
because the NFT will double up as marketing collateral. We're already seeing it. I mean, it's like in 2021, if someone had a CryptoPunk or a Bored Ape and they put it as their avatar, they immediately got 10, 20,000 followers. I've been posting about my mutant ape. It's got over 1 million impressions. So it'll be the attention arbitrage. And then what will happen, in the same way that influencers on Facebook have these huge followings, we're going to have the social element of NFTs, and people are going to be able to see what you buy versus what you PR on social media, like taking a selfie and putting on social media. Now they're actually going to see what you buy. And then people are going to follow you, because I think probably what you buy says a bit more about you than, you know, what you might post, or your food, or your cat videos, or all this sort of stuff. And then these prominent NFT collectors, it's going to lead to a lot of notoriety, because a lot of these things are trophy assets. But you're going to have the social signaling vehicle, which is going to be the social element. And then what's going to happen is businesses are going to release their own NFTs, and they're going to want to airdrop it into your wallet so other people see it. And it just makes, it just makes sense that would happen. And they also, the thing about the NFT is it organizes community. So it's like, look at us now. You and I have met through an NFT project. Now, we haven't met through the metadata of VFriends. We've organized on our own. So we've organized around a shared idea and shared interest. But a lot of businesses will do that to try and get closer to their communities and build depth with them, and try and offer as many rewards as possible. So I think that's one element of it. We spoke the other night about it, like cross-pollinating with physical assets, like a redeemable thing. But the thing with the NFT is it is an everything token. And this is, I keep this book here. It's a fucking good book. It is an everything token. So it's a contract, and a contract can be anything. And the person who issues it can add anything at any time. And then it just comes down to, well, do you understand enough about the person, or do they have an altruistic view of business to want to give the most to their communities? And I guess that's probably the harder part.
See, that's like a beautifully like utopian vision. Like I remember thinking about that back in like 21, where
Yeah.
it's like, all these different companies have an NFT project and all that. And I think that is what's coming. I think it's not just like a money making thing. It's just the best, like the next step of the technology. It just makes sense. What do you think? Do you think it just takes one of these companies just like being okay, like Facebook or whatever, being okay, I'm the first one who's going to do it to ignite it, or like what's gonna take for us to get there? Is just gonna be time? Like, how do you see that playing out?
Well, I think we have digital assets already. It's just you can't self custody them. So it's like if I have a blue tick on Instagram, I don't own that. It's not like it's not an asset that I own that I can take with me. It's held by the company, or the IP of the company. But you and I both know that as people are going up this crypto wealth curve, is they'll want to express themselves in an online world. And how do you express yourself online? Like through social signaling. Then it becomes, well, with what? And the most expressive assets that you can own are NFTs. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, in the old world or the current world, it's watches, cars, fancy suits that we signal. But then I was chatting to Zeneca the other day. Obviously, me and him do a show on a Friday, and he's like, "Mate, I spend very little time in my car. I mean, I spend probably 3 hours a week in my car. In my car, and 60, 70 hours online. So I'm going to value the assets that are in this space more than probably my physical space. And this is without even thinking about the metaverse or all these sorts of things. And I'm going to want to socially signal the assets that I own. And if some of these things become hugely relevant IPs, like the VFriends, as a social signaling vehicle, it's going to be huge. It's going to be a huge thing. It's why I lean into a lot of the historical projects, because my mind says that we're going to have a huge abundance of supply of these NFTs, because every single business is going to release one. And we're all going to self-custody these digital assets, because we do already. I mean, I could open up my Apple thing now and you could look at a list of digital things, but I don't own them. It's like my gym pass. It's like
Can you imagine if Apple was like, okay, we're allowing digital assets onto the thing? That would send NFTs into a bull run just right there.
Fucking right, mate.
But what do you think that looks like for each company? Like they release just like an access pass type of thing, or like a PFP project, like that kind of gives you access to like everything they're doing from then on out, or like is it a PFP like a
yeah, I mean,
probably different with every company.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't own a business that would, well, not yet, but if I were to do it, it would be something that I could socially signal. The reason why the IP plays do well is because there's a picture of a face, and you then have that as your digital identity. But actually, the unknown thing is the little known thing is the fact that because it has a face on it and people resonate with it, it then becomes a social signaling vehicle, which gets more attention because it's a face. It's like, and then you put it as your PFP, and then more people see it online, and then that attention leads to buying flows. So it comes like this kind of reinforced flywheel of. So I would always do something with a face on it, and it would probably be a PFP. But the beauty of it is, it's a contract, and you can add anything to the contract at any time. I could do a thing with my subscribers where I release an NFT for say people who have been with Carrot Lane for 3 years, and there are certain member benefits that I add to that. There are a whole host of utilities that I can add to that, whether it's like one-to-one strategy calls or basically anything. I may end up in a whole bunch of assets that turn into a lot of money that I can then fractionalize, and I could say, hey, anyone holding this NFT gets a fractionalized piece of another NFT. Or if it's worth a lot of money, I could launch a strategy token, and I could market buy my own token and then share it with people who are subscribed. So there's so much shit you can do, mate, and a lot of it is going to evolve over time, which is exciting, mate. I've just seen we've just crossed 1,000 people, which is absolutely extraordinary. I'm doing this thing like I'm a bit of a tour, like a bit like when I landed in Minnesota and I was just taking pictures of random shit. I'm just going to take a picture of this 1,003 in the corner here.
Let's go.
Mate, that's insane.
I appreciate you guys are all being here for sure. Let us know. Yes. Anybody have any questions? Carl, let us know if you're still here, bro. Still taking notes.
He said he's obviously, you did the joke about the taking notes. I'm just going to check in my private group. I'm just going to check if anyone's got any questions in there. It doesn't look like anyone's dropped anything in there. Obviously, I can't see the stuff on Substack, which is fine. So that's all good. Let me just have a little. Tila's just put where's the invite? Sorry, I don't know. Tila, actually, I don't know what I'm doing. So, this is just is what it is. We've gone live. You can watch the recording back, which is all good. But I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, and I did this to you the last time, and I apologize. Let's say you're in the audience. You've got $1,000 burning a hole in your pocket. You want what would you be putting it in? Not financial advice, obviously.
NFTs?
Anything. What do you think in the shortest period of time? and I know you can't do. So let's just say 6 months.
Yeah.
No
So
question.
if you have only 1,000, I would say I think the NFTs will have a run, but I think the surest fire, like I think crypto is almost certainly going to have a run in the next 6 months to a year.
Yeah,
And in that case, like, you probably want to bet on that instead of having your money in NFTs and then crypto takes off. So I would take 500 of that and keep it in ETH, Sol, or stables. Probably
yeah,
ETH Sol right now, ETH Sol Bitcoin, and take 500 of that and spread it amongst a few sectors, maybe 5 different coins, 3 to 5 different coins. To
yeah,
me, like I said, I lined out that barbell of, I think those movement means the SPX gigas, uh, get SPX and MOG, especially with them being down 70 to 80%, have a
yeah,
good asymmetric bet along with the Asters or whatever. For you, that might be the XRPs or the higher cap stuff. But take that other 500 and place it between 3 to 5 coins that you really have conviction in. If it was to me, I would take one SPX, one MOG, and then maybe one of those pump fund and hyper liquid.
yeah,
Just whatever. But for you, those coins may be different. And so you have most of your portfolio in those ETH, Sol, Bitcoin. So that doesn't mean you need to keep them in there forever, but you can you can. So if the market does see a big washout, you don't get completely wrecked. And then essentially your goal from there is to grow that ETH, Sol, Bitcoin stable position by trading with that other 500 or that other 50% of your portfolio. And that's my goal is to grow my Bitcoin, ETH, Sol value along with my stables, take some money out of the market too, like Jaden said, lifestyle chips.
yeah,
But you use the smaller coins, the alts, all that stuff. Even if you have higher, longer term conviction, like I have long term conviction in SPX and these other ones, but I took 50% of my position off on the way out this last time. That's how
yeah,
you should treat them. But really, that keeping 50% of the stables and whatever, most people don't do that, and I think that's why most people get rinsed during times of pullback.
yeah. I think you're right, my friend. Um, my just just to kind of piggyback off the back of that.
Yeah,
Um, I think there's two plays. I think there's two plays. Obviously we've got the VFriend stuff. I'm big on the historical projects. I just think they just need time to do the heavy lifting. But there's two particular NFTs, and they're at different pricing levels, but they feature two of the top artists in the space. One is Beeple and one is Xcopy. I think it's undeniable that those two are just the top guys. So if you want to get on the screen, it's Max Payne. Let's start with Xcopy. So that top one there. Oh, you had it, I think. There we go. This is gonna fucking fly. Like Xcopy is the top artist in the space. It's undeniable. He's the GOAT. He's like the Banksy of digital art. And really interesting with this one is that he is open. He's market buying his own assets and burning them periodically, and it's kind of um, uh, lending itself to the allure of Max Payne because these things drop to like 0.2. I think they're an open edition which started at 1 Ethereum. Now they're at like 0.6. But he's the top artist. Now he also has a strategy token, and he's going to use the purchasing of Payne strategy to open to market buy and burn the actual NFTs. So I think it's a real good one. He's the top artist in the space, and that's in reach for a lot of people. The open mint, well, it was for 1 Ethereum, and the collection supply started, I think, at like 7,500, and but he's burnt nearly 3,000 of them. So it's a deflationary supply. It's the lowest entry one for Xcopy, who's the most profound artist, and it's just like, fuck me, guys, this is a play. And in my opinion, this is a sleeper, and I'm very comfortable sharing it, is because I would be buying it. This is if I had capital. I've got 3 of them.
Wow, I didn't realize these were this cheap. Now, how many did it start out with? Before we get,
7,500 or seven. It should show in the bio. I
so you tell
can't.
me he's burned 3,400 of them?
Maybe a bit
So the
less.
supply 4,100 at the
Yeah,
top.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's burnt a shit ton of them, but he's also done. He had another collection. So some of the whales, they could burn their max pain to redeem another collection that has a lower supply. I think the other collection is called Damage Control.
Yeah, so it looks
Um,
like it started out with 4,800.
Hold on.
So yeah, it started out with 4,800. So yeah, he's burned about
No,
750.
he's burnt more than that. It says it below there, bud. It says 2,545. Up.
Max Payne, 1 out of 484. Oh, they
They
burnt. Okay.
burn.
Yeah. You're right. Okay.
So
Damn.
so burn 2,440. Yeah, 2,545. Does that say? I can't see. The screen's tiny.
Yeah.
So he's burnt a shit ton of them, mate. And he's the top artist. Now, I was going to show you another one, but it's all good.
Yeah, my bad. I'm pulling it up.
No, you're good, bro. So if you put it on there, and I'll share it this
Let me
time.
go back to Magic Eden.
Here we go. So if you go to the Beeple one, now again, I'm eating my own cooking here. I've got a lot of these. In fact, I reckon up the Beeple V Friends one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there we go. Guys, this is a good one to get into. I mean, what's the floor price there?
It's 0.39.
Fuck, mate, bro. The other day that was 0.2.
Damn. Yeah, it's because there's only 1,000 of them, and it's like the cheapest way to get into a Beeple, right?
Well, 100%, mate. I can't actually believe that.
I heard also this gives you access to like the events he has in the. He always has like these events. You know, there's events where all these people are walking around in like the Trump masks and shit.
Yeah.
Like you get access. You get access to that. I think to this event. It's in like some random state like North Carolina or some shit.
That's made me laugh. Bro, I shared this with people when this was like at $200. And some of my subscribers, I used to get, well, I still do get on one-to-one calls. And I'd show them this, and I'm like, guys, this is the one. And they would look at me like I'd lost my fucking mind. Like, what is that? That's a fucking, like, people don't, but what people do is they apply a traditional art sense to what is effectively childlike internet art. And I just think of it like it's a
When has it ever been about the art though? You see some of these physical arts that are just like the most abstract shit ever. It's about the story, right? About the artist or like
exactly, mate. You fucking got that spot on. It's like people. The thing with people is that one, he does a piece of art every day, so he does this huge supply of art, but none of it you can purchase. So he's actually got, in terms of purchasable supply, some of the least, whereas X Copy's gone the other way, where X Copy's got different tiers that you can kind of get into.
what about like Jack Butcher? He has like a lot, right?
Yeah.
What do you
But
think of those? Do you have any Jack Butcher stuff?
the Czech stuff, mate, I didn't get in. Like, I know his stuff is really good. I probably leaned into it a bit more with the strategy, with the Czechster token. But it's one of these things. It's like, I'm not really an artsy person. However, I'm also not fucking brain dead. Like, I know that these are two of the top artists in the space. I much prefer the characters. Like, I prefer the social signaling of the characters because I resonate with them, and I like collecting some of the historical stuff just because the historical significance and the stories around them. Whereas with the artsy fartsy stuff, I'm not really that into it. Although I do like X copy stuff, but it's not within reach, except for Max Payne. Like the story around Beeple and this, you will know this from the meme of Gary V, where he goes on to a talk show or goes onto a news channel, and they ask him if NFTs are a fad. And if you look at the picture, it's got him doing that same smirk that he did on the news channel. So the clever thing with Beeple is like kind of there we go, that little smirk. So it's like he's doing all of these like unspoken implications in his art and hidden messaging. You know, it's like when Trump got voted in as president, he did this piece of art that went viral, and it was basically Elon Musk running naked with Joe Rogan on his shoulders, and then on top of Joe Rogan's shoulders had Donald Trump in a nappy doing that as the winner. But what he does is very clever, is that he appeals to both sides of the political kind of spectrum, but he does some really clever storytelling things in his art, which I am just kind of like leaning into at the moment. But I'm not the most artsy person. I prefer the characters and the kind of IP stuff. So, but question back to you: did you get into the Jack Butcher stuff?
No, I didn't. I didn't really get into too much of the art stuff at all back in 21, and most of my NFT has been buying like the IPs for the most part, and then
Yeah.
I do want to get into some of the art stuff. I didn't even realize the Max Payne; those were at like below an ETH. I should probably buy a few of those.
But this is the thing, bud. It's like, okay, you're in these memes. You know what you're doing. You're so brilliant with the TA stuff. Then it becomes okay, like the wealth preservation. Now, I just think the art plays, because of that built-in supply friction and the allure of the art and the social signaling. I just feel like it's just much more interesting than holding Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
I know everyone should hold Bitcoin. I know it's going to perform really well. I know it's the kind of apex asset of coins, but the NFTs just interest me a lot more. And that, that's just kind of how I look at it. And these two top pieces, I just think they're just fucking good plays, mate.
Yeah, I hope we get back to where it's even like 10 or 15% of like the NFTs, where it's, I don't know, not even like the mania, but just like if, for example, a product drop happens and they drop NFTs and then everybody can go watch whatever, like watch some unveiling together and all that shit. I don't know. I feel like the world, we could see a version of like 2021 where everybody was doing all this social shit with NFTs, but like on a huge grand scale.
Yeah.
Which would be really exciting.
Yeah, exactly, my friend. But I have really fucking enjoyed chatting to you. It's now nearly midnight in the UK. I could probably chat to you for the next 3 hours. And then people would listen in, and I just loop all the way back to 2 hours ago. What I really like about you, but apart from the fact that you're a fucking great guy, is that you really come at this from both angles. You look at the macro and you look at the short-term stuff, and the technical analysis stuff you do is brilliant. But obviously, I'm going to feature it in the next couple of days in the Carrot Lane newsletter. So if people are listening, please do me a massive favor. Please subscribe. It is free. You'll get the newsletter, and what myself and Bren are going to do, obviously Bren's going to do more writing on Substack. I'm going to help him along on his journey. So if you subscribe to Bren's newsletter as well, but you'll see the link in the post that I send out. It'll be like a guest link, and it'll take you to his Substack. And then you can keep up to speed with a lot of the TA stuff. Some people like to read, and that's how they learn. And they find it a better resource because they can go back and revisit stuff, and it's kind of always there in your save folder. Whereas sometimes the videos can be a bit fleeting. But yeah, Bren, really appreciate this, bud.
Yeah, Jaden, it's been great. It's been great, brother. Honestly, all of them have been amazing, better each time. Definitely, everybody who's watching, definitely should go shoot Jaden a follow. Check out his carrotlane.com. Look out for, I do streams Tuesdays and Fridays at 11 a.m. from Twitter, YouTube. But yeah, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see it there. Jaden, we'll have to run it back again soon, brother.
Mate, I fucking enjoy this, buddy. I could go another 3 hours because I love talking about NFTs and I really enjoy talking to you. So yeah, all good, brother. Thanks for everything. And let's run it back sometime soon.
Yes, sir. I appreciate everybody who's been on, and I think the best is yet to come. See you guys soon.
Love it. Cheers, guys. See you in a bit.
Peace.